Tonight, we're live in China, ahead of a historic summit. President Trump in the air, on his way here right now. The high-stakes summit between President Trump and China's leader just hours away, as we take you inside this secretive nation. Tonight, we're on the ground, inside this new global superpower. 1.4 billion people, America's key trading partner and geopolitical rival. Its military and its influence expanding globally. President Trump taking off as new inflation numbers are released, the highest in 3 years.
Our inflation is just short term.
The Iran war driving up prices. What the president said today about the cost of living.
I don't think about Americans' financial situation.
Can he convince China to use their leverage to push Iran to the bargaining table? The two leaders also set to face off on tariffs, AI, and human rights. Plus, we take you inside this country's surveillance state, how the government tracks its residents through almost every part of their life.
The Chinese government is monitoring everything you put on that app.
Plus, inside the quarantine unit, an American being monitored for the deadly Hantavirus, showing what life is like after departing that plague cruise. Plus, are those being watched free to leave at any time? What we're learning. The FDA commissioner out after months of turmoil, including his handling of vaccines and vaping regulations. The new details on that horrific crash at Denver airport, what we've just learned about the man struck by a plane on the runway. Emergency landing caught on camera, a small plane heading straight for this family driving on a highway, forcing them to swerve out of the way. Back in China, the car America doesn't want you to drive.
What's the difference between this and a Tesla?
We test drive one of the Chinese electric cars that are so cheap and so functional.
This feels like luxury.
They're taking over the global market.
And we'll take you to the Great Wall of China.
One of the wonders of the world, stretching 13,000 miles long, more than 4 times the length of the U.S.
We're going to hike up there.
Our hike to the remote section of the wall.
This is how they're rebuilding the Great Wall right here.
As we follow the massive efforts to preserve it, our historic broadcast from the edge of the Forbidden City on the eve of this critical summit.
This is a special edition of NBC Nightly News, live from China. Reporting tonight from Beijing, here is Tom Yamas.
And good evening from Beijing. We are coming to you live as the sun comes up over what's called the Imperial Ancestral Temple. This ancient hall built during the Ming Dynasty 600 years ago. And just beyond those walls over there, Tiananmen Square and the Forbidden City, which was the center of power for this country for centuries. Now, China itself rising as a center of power for the globe. President Trump will encounter a very different country than he did here during his last visit 9 years ago. One more willing to use its economic and geopolitical muscle. And we may be some 7,000 miles from the White House, but President Trump's political problems, specifically the stalled Iran war and rising prices, will follow him here. China and this summit are key to both issues, with China having major influence over Iran. And President Trump coming with an all-star lineup of American CEOs, including Tim Cook and Elon Musk, in the hopes of scoring new trade deals. And there are things China needs from the U.S. as well. Its economy is now slowing. President Trump's trade war did not come without a cost. And as they strive for AI dominance, they still need American chips to do it. Tonight, this city of 22 million people, almost as much as the top 7 U.S. cities combined, preparing for the massive security operation that comes with hosting the President of the United States for a summit that could make history. Tonight, President Trump and China's President Xi Jinping, the critical summit the whole world will be watching.
We're going to have a great meeting in China. He's a wonderful guy. He's a friend of mine.
At their first meeting here nearly 9 years ago, the American president receiving a lavish welcome.
There's a very good chemistry between the two of us, believe me.
The stakes this week even higher. Looming large, the war with Iran. Can President Trump convince China to push the Iranian regime to make a nuclear deal and stop attacking oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz? China is Iran's biggest ally.
We're going to have a long talk about it. I don't think we need any help with Iran. We'll win it one way or the other.
And there's new urgency tonight, with higher gas prices pushing U.S. inflation to 3.8%, now at its highest levels since 2023.
You're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President. To what extent are American financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about American financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. You cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. The American people understand. When it's over, you're going to have a massive drop in the price of oil.
It's been more than 50 years since President Nixon and Mao Zedong's historic meeting. Back then, China was isolated. But now it's making an aggressive push to try to surpass the U.S. Its Navy now has more ships than the U.S. Navy.
China's been engaged in a historic military buildup. We really haven't seen anything quite like this for a country that technically isn't at a state of war.
On the economy, China is the world's biggest exporter, with that huge trade advantage with the U.S. President Trump slapping China with its highest tariffs, coming here with top American CEOs, including Elon Musk and Tim Cook, to try to get China to buy more American goods. And China's challenges tonight? Its economy is struggling with high unemployment and a housing crisis. China also facing fierce criticism on human rights and their massive surveillance program. One of the things you notice in China is that there are cameras everywhere, hundreds of millions of them watching every citizen. But the most sophisticated surveillance happens without cameras, through apps. One, a super app called WeChat. It gives people extraordinary convenience, but there's a trade-off.
It's the way people book cars, pay for things, and message with their friends. But here's the catch. The Chinese government is monitoring everything you put on that app.
China spends a lot on its military, but it actually spends even more than that on its security services at home, its surveillance, its repression, its monitoring of what people say and do.
President Trump's vowed to bring up the case of Jimmy Lai, a pro-democracy publisher now serving a 20-year prison sentence following his controversial conviction for violating a national security law. Chinese officials say they backed the court's verdict, calling Lai a principal mastermind behind Hong Kong riots.
My father, in so many ways, he represents values that are so fundamental but so inconsistent with the communist system. Whether it's the freedom of the press, the freedom of religion.
People would like him out, and I'd like to see him get out too.
We are extremely grateful to President Trump. I have a high degree of confidence that he and his administration will bring my father home.
And the president will have a whirlwind 2 days of events covering politics and business, and we're going to be here for every step of it. We have new details on those passengers evacuated from the Hantavirus cruise ship as we get our first inside look at the quarantine facilities in the U.S. Camila Bernal has the latest from the medical facility in Omaha.
It is my second day here at the National Quarantine Unit.
Passenger Jake Rosemarin, who was on the ship at the center of a deadly hantavirus outbreak.
The room is very spacious and comfortable.
Sharing his quarantine experience on social media.
Here's my thermometer.
He also spoke to Today from his room in the Nebraska Medical Center in Omaha.
I feel good right now. I'm happy to be in a place where I know we are well cared for, and if anything happens, we have the medical attention that we need.
Rosemarin also clarifying he has not tested positive for hantavirus. The Department of Health and Human Services today saying all 16 passengers in Omaha, including the one that tested mildly positive, are asymptomatic, and that the passenger taken to Emory University showing mild symptoms has tested negative for the Andes strain.
We're really trying to figure out individually what risk assessment might be for each person, so that way we can know what the best recommendations are for them.
Dr. Katie Willett is one of the National Quarantine Unit medical directors and says right now the passengers must stay at the facility.
Is there anyone that has said they wanted to leave?
All of the passengers have been very cooperative and understanding of this period. Understandably, they do want to go home when they're able to go home, but they're all being very agreeable.
Around the world, there are now 11 reported cases, and the World Health Organization says given the incubation period, more cases could emerge in the following weeks. In the U.S., 16 states are now monitoring residents that were either on the ship at one point or were exposed to a passenger confirmed to have hantavirus, though there is no mandatory quarantine for those residents.
Camila Bernal joins us now from outside the National Quarantine Unit in Omaha. And Camila, we're now hearing about another possible hantavirus case, this one in Illinois.
Yeah, Tom, this suspected case not at all connected to this cruise. Instead, it is linked to rodent droppings, and it is not associated with human-to-human transmission. Tom?
Camila, thank you for that. We're also following another high-profile departure from the Trump administration. After weeks of disputes with the president, FDA Commissioner Marty Makary is out. The president thanked Makary today, but the two had feuded in recent weeks over authorizing flavored vapes for adults in the U.S. Makary had also drawn scrutiny over his handling of the abortion medication mifepristone. Now to the new details about that Frontier plane that hit and killed a man who ran onto the runway at Denver International. Officials now identifying that trespasser as 41-year-old Michael Mott, saying he intended to take his own life. Airport officials will now conduct a review of the incident. When we return in 60 seconds live from Beijing, I test drive the Chinese car taking over the global market, but not allowed in the U.S. And get this, some cost as low as $12,000. So how do they drive? We're back from Beijing in just a moment. And you're looking at the busy streets of Beijing, where bicycles are extremely popular, but so are Chinese-made electric vehicles. You can't buy them in America, but they are taking off around the world. They are super cheap, and many say just as good as the cars we have in America. So I test drove one to find out. We're about to do something few Americans have ever done. Drive a Chinese electric vehicle. What's so special about this? Why is the world going nuts over this car?
In the U.S., we say bang for the buck. This is probably as good as you can get in terms of bang for the buck.
Lei Xing is a Chinese-American podcaster and consultant covering the auto industry. Is that massage?
Yes.
Right away, you notice the luxury and the features. This vehicle is from a company called BYD, Build Your Dream. China's dream is to use cars just like these to conquer the auto industry. The pitch is simple, a luxury vehicle with no sticker shock. If you could buy this car in America, how much would it cost?
So $25,000 here, you add about $10,000, $35,000, still a pretty good deal.
And some BYD vehicles go even lower, less than $12,000. You can't get this in the U.S. right now?
No.
There's no way?
No. Well, not yet.
Right now, the U.S. is refusing to allow China in its driveway, slapping a 100% tariff on all Chinese EVs. Globally, though, the demand is surging. Experts say China is approaching nearly 70% of all EVs sold around the world.
Most Chinese automakers at home lose money. They look around the world, they say, we need oxygen. They see the United States as sort of a salvation.
On TikTok, videos featuring Chinese EVs rack up millions of views, hyping affordable tech to an American audience.
Whenever you're ready to leave, the car will just pull out on its own.
U.S. automakers and elected leaders argue China's EVs would cripple business and threaten national security.
There's always strings attached. What are those strings, and are we willing to forego potentially our freedoms in exchange for a cheaper product?
President Trump is even bringing Elon Musk to the summit in China. Tesla is in fierce competition with Chinese EVs. But the president is also sending mixed signals, increasing tariffs, but earlier this year saying he might welcome foreign auto investment if they build in America and hire Americans.
If they want to come in and build a plant and hire you and hire your friends and your neighbors, that's great. I love that. Let China come in.
Back in the car, the comfort and the price tag make the scale of this challenge clear. The question may no longer be if these cars are coming, but how much longer the American market can keep them at bay. And we're back in a moment with terrifying video of a plane careening towards a family driving on the highway. And later, Journey to the Great Wall, our epic hike with the man restoring it brick by brick. Stay with us. We're back now with a close call in Arizona. Dash cam video capturing the moment a small plane drops onto the highway, careening toward a truck with a family inside. The family says the propeller clipped the back of the truck. Arizona Highway Patrol says the plane had to make an emergency landing, but that no one was hurt. When we come back tonight here on Nightly News, we're going to take you on a trek to the Great Wall, one of the most spectacular places on Earth. It took hundreds of years to build. We're going to show you its wonders up close. Welcome back, and this is the dramatic view from along the Great Wall, the largest man-made structure on Earth. We traveled there to visit the historic site and get a rare first-hand look at the epic restoration project now underway. Our journey to the Great Wall starts just north of Beijing. From the urban center of China, we head out to the countryside. We're going up some very windy roads now up the Yan Mountains. This is one of the main mountain ranges of China. We're trying to reach a remote area of the Great Wall of China known as Jiankou. That means arrowhead.
It's extremely dangerous for visitors to hike up there and then walk along this section of the Great Wall.
And that's where you're taking us?
Yes.
At the mountain base, we meet our guide, Shi Ran, and Mr. Chen, leading the restoration of this hard-to-reach section of the Great Wall. So for the first time now, we can actually see the Great Wall. It's up there. That's that arrowhead we were talking about. We're going to hike up there. That's actually a soldier's tower from the Ming Dynasty, about 400 to 500 years old. It was a lookout over the Great Wall. It's a good workout, huh?
Yeah.
The hike is mostly uphill, taking us around ridges, through forest canopies, and along merciless rocky terrain. As advanced as China is when it comes to technology, they're still using ancient ways to rebuild the Great Wall. The Great Wall took nearly 2,000 years to build, designed to protect a newly unified China from invaders, Mongol tribes trying to invade and steal its riches. Today, it's the pride of the Chinese who are spending decades trying to restore it, and it's why Mr. Chen is still climbing at his age.
That's his responsibility.
He feels it's his purpose in life.
His purpose of life.
We've reached it, the Great Wall. The 2-mile vertical climb and 90-minute journey bring us to the final steps that reveal the awesome size of this ancient feat, one of the wonders of the world. From this vantage point, it is incredible to see. The Great Wall is the longest man-made structure in the world, and to see it from this perspective is incredible. It stretches for miles, thousands of miles. And to think that humans brought these bricks one by one and assembled this, it took centuries, and many consider the Great Wall China's backbone. But at the top, we realize there is so much work to do. The repairs are being done brick by brick. Mr. Chen has already been at it 20 years. So the walls here are 400 years old?
Yeah, 456.
He knows the work will continue long after he's gone, but says this wall and these bricks are his calling.
It's really a representative of the spirit of the Chinese. It's a treasure of heritage that left behind from the ancestors.
Mr. Chen tells me that this wall tells China's story, that the Chinese came together to build it, and they are still building it. It's not just a wall, it's the spirit of this country. And we leave you with that incredible view tonight. That's Nightly News for this Tuesday. We'll be back here tomorrow as President Trump arrives in China, and we'll have a close-up look at Chinese society now years after the strict one-child policy. I'm Tom Yamas. We thank you so much for watching. Tonight, and always, we're here for you. Good night. We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.